It never really occurred to me that my wife and I would have trouble conceiving.
Didn't even cross our minds in the slightest.
Having a child was the next logical step. I didn't want to accept it at first.
I felt like it was my fault.
It hit me like a wrecking ball all at once, all the emotions all at once.
Infertility is so emasculating.
It's made me more aware of how I feel about what's important to me.
I think I tried to escape from it a little bit. I suppose, buried my head in the sand and thought, it'll happen.
I probably, like most men, didn't want any help, didn't want it, couldn't accept any help.
Probably didn't cope very well with it, just buried it down, I think.
I can't think of one aspect of my life that's the same now as it was before the diagnosis.
Men are as much part of this as well. Why don't we say something?
Friends, Romans, outlaws, kung fu masters, countrymen, lend us your ears. It's Have You Seen? Welcome everybody to Have You Seen, where we are stretching from the far east to the far west this week as we cover Dragon Blade and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, two very different films. Joining me on this epic journey, as always, is Tom Webb.
Hello.
And I should probably introduce myself. I'm Kieran Lefort. Still and again, I suppose. It is disgustingly hot here in August of 2020 in the southeast of England. You should consider yourselves very lucky I've put a shirt on because I haven't been wearing one all day.
Yeah, I'm naked from the waist down, so you know.
Standard. And if you can hear my fan, tough. It's too hot to not have it on.
So just someone in the background going, "Yay, Kieran!"
If only. Well, the other option is having the windows open with trains going past every 3 minutes. So the fan is the lesser of two evils, I think.
Well, see, at the moment, so I live under a flight path to an airport, and all the planes are going in the opposite direction. So there's no plane noise at the moment. It hasn't been for the last 2 or 3 days. I guess just wind direction. So it's really still. So if I had my windows open,
like creepily still,
yeah, like the entire street would hear this podcast because it's the sound just carries so much.
I'm pretty sure my neighbours can hear me when we record.
Yeah, no doubt.
I have to listen to their terrible dance music, most days.
Getting a free
I would
show.
really like it if my neighbour decided to like a second song because he seems to like one track that's 40 minutes of thumping, boring, repetitive EDM, and that gets played at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Perhaps you should put, you know our friend Graham. Perhaps he should put a flyer for his radio show like under the door.
That'd be right up his street.
Yeah, exactly. Just try and get him, get him listening to something a bit different.
There we go. Or at least something that supports one of our friends.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Pick a direction, east or west.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, one of these films is far more sensible than the other.
that is very true.
What kind of mood are you in at the moment?
I mean, I have my Butch and Sundance notes open in front of me, but I do kind of feel like maybe we should try Dragon Blade first.
All right.
If that
Let's
suits
try
you.
Dragon Blade first. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All
Fine. I have no opinion one way or the other.
Okay.
As I mentioned last week, I did not pitch this to Tom because I thought it was a particularly good film, but I also don't dislike it, and I find something slightly charming in its crapness. As I said last week, it's 50 BC, we're in the middle of the Chinese desert, and Jackie Chan plays Huan, a commander of the Silk Road Protection Squad, so Silk Road Police, and he and his team are accused of smuggling gold, and as punishment are sent to rebuild the massive stone Wild Geese Gate. While they're doing this, a Roman legion and a blind kid pull up like they're in cars or something, although it wouldn't have surprised me in this film.
No, they are on horses, though, which I
Yes.
didn't think the Romans necessarily rode horses, like as units. And I looked it up. Apparently, they did have some cavalry, but they were very, very rare, and they pretty much went everywhere on foot.
Oh, well, there we go.
And the cavalry only rode ponies.
Right.
Don't know why.
Nope, and I've got no comeback for that.
Sorry.
All these people, all these Romans are led by John Cusack, the most Roman of Romans. They are on the run from the evil Tiberius, played by the equally Roman Adrian Brody, who has dual intentions, kill the blind kid and take over the Silk Road.
Yeah.
I think I said I saw this on a plane about 5 years ago, either on the way to or from China. And that version is much longer. There's 25 minutes cut out of the Chinese version to make this international version that we watched on Prime Video.
Okay.
And I think, despite what Tom might think of this film, having seen both, I think this is actually the better version.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
There are some parts that now make slightly less sense that we might cover if we remember.
Okay.
If I remember. But overall, it's a tighter film. And according to some German website I found, there are 119 differences between the two versions.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So what did you make of this absolute hodgepodge of a movie?
I would say overall it's pretty awful.
Okay. I think this is one of those films where all opinions are valid.
Yeah, no, I okay, overall I didn't really, it's weird. I didn't really engage with it. I didn't think it was particularly good. I didn't think it was particularly, I don't know, it just didn't, there are some good things about it. Yeah. But it's, I don't know, I found it really cheesy.
Oh, absolutely.
In its style and in the sort of well-intentioned but ham-fisted messaging on certain subjects.
I particularly love John Cusack's Chinese tourist board speech that he gives.
I just like, it's like that, when he's telling Jackie to raise the flag, which is essentially their unity quilt, their Parks and Rec unity quilt. And it's just like, oh man. But yeah, so it's really cheesy. I thought that you mentioned last week that you thought Jackie's acting was actually pretty good, and I have to say there are moments in it where I would 100% agree with that they actually, looking at it in terms of performance, I think he gives the best performances as an actor.
I think he does too, yes.
I think Cusack and Brody are just hamming it up for the fun of it, or phoning it in.
Brody devours the scenery, and as the scenery is mostly sand, he is a man with mouthfuls of sand for most of this film.
Yeah, and Cusack just, I don't know, I think he's just like, I'm in a film with Jackie Chan.
I think, I have a feeling he took the paycheck.
Yeah.
And then
one for the condo.
Didn't realise what it'd be like being directed by a man speaking Mandarin at him, possibly having it translated by Jackie Chan.
Yes.
Who, as we know, isn't A1 when it comes to spoken English.
No. So, it's one of the few films I've ever watched where I've thought, you know what, I wish these characters had less motivation. Because I actually found myself thinking, okay, this is an interesting story. Like, it's an interesting concept that, Romans on the Silk Road, and like that those two meetings of those great empires, of China and the Han.
I was going to research if it actually happened or not, wasn't I?
Yeah, and I think there must be some element of truth in there, seed in there somewhere. I think, a bit like Butch Cassidy that we'll get onto later. It's, but what I found irritating was the whole storyline with the kid. And
I mostly found the kid irritating.
Yeah, and then just like the whole concept of all of that, it was kind of like, I don't actually need that. If it had simply been Lucius turns up, tries to attack Jackie. I'll stick to their non-character names. If Cusack had turned up and attacked Jackie, Sandstorm comes, they get together, they have their joyous 15 days, which I think's, overestimating it a bit.
There is no way they rebuilt that massive stone city thing in 15 days.
There's no way they could have built that crane in 15 days.
Even if they are what they charitably call gravel, which I would call massive fucking rocks.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say that happens, and then Tiberius just shows up and is pissed off that so if Brody just shows up and he's just pissed off that Cusack has made friends with people as opposed to just and helped fortify themselves.
Yeah, instead of bulldozing them. Yeah.
That's all you need. You don't need all this like brothers and poisons and Shakespearean style drama. You just don't need that. Like, there's enough plots there for this, because it's an epic scale. You need it to be broader strokes in terms of the story to make room for the. It is
at turns both too simplistic and too complicated.
Yes, exactly, I think, and it's too complicated for the scale of it. Yeah, like I think if they you pull all that story out, which you don't need, and you could make a really great kind of like 50s epic.
The first undisputed contact between Romans and the Chinese was in AD 161.
Oh, sorry. Right. That's how shocked I was. I was just dropping stuff on my desk.
Tom's broken something in his podcast bunker. An embassy from Roman Emperor Antonius Pius or his successor Marcus Aurelius reached the Chinese Huan of Han at... God, I used to work for the Chinese and I still can't pronounce it. Anyway, some Romans turned up in China in AD 161.
Right, okay.
So 211 years after this film is set.
Right, I see.
Or 213 years if you're watching the Chinese version, because the dates are different for no apparent reason.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just... hang on, I need to find my notes on this. But yeah, for me, it was just like... It's like, oh, cool, you get to see these three actors together, which is just odd.
I mean, John Cusack and Jackie Chan having a sword fight is odd.
Well, yeah, but actually pretty good.
Yes, even though most of it does not appear to be John Cusack.
No, apparently Jackie wasn't exactly...
no, he was not
enthused by Cusack, his abilities.
But I then wrote later on, I did not have Adrian Brody down as being a better swordsman than John Cusack, because that fight is better, I think, and that is mostly Adrian Brody.
Wow, okay. Maybe he's just got a bit more of the dancer in him.
Some people get choreography more than others.
Yeah, which, I mean, Cusack, he's a big martial artist, like legit martial artist. With Benny, isn't he? So,
yeah, I think Benny Urquidez got cut out of this film, I do believe.
Right, that makes sense.
Or out of this version.
Yeah, because I saw a bit of trivia that said, it's second film to feature Cusack and Benny Urquidez. And I was like, is it? Because I don't remember him, and I thought maybe he's just like Centurion 4, and I didn't notice or something.
Well, I didn't see many Brazilian centurions.
No, me either.
All the Romans were American except when they were English.
Yes, and Adrian Brody seemed to be both at once.
Yes, they couldn't decide.
No. Yeah, I was just like, what the hell accent is he doing?
Whatever he felt like.
Yeah.
Whatever he felt like.
Yeah.
I think he thought he was playing English but couldn't quite do it.
Yeah, it's very odd. Very, very odd.
I do like... Jackie's sword on a rope gimmick thing.
Yes, yeah, that was cool. They sort of elasticated.
And they did some cool things with it.
Yeah, that was that.
I definitely cut to Tom for that.
You know, I think it's one of those things, like you said, there were moments of that traditional Jackie Chan flair, and I definitely think that those swords were one of them. And then there's a few other bits that they're dealing with the shields, and particularly in the fight sequences between him and the female Hun. At the beginning, him and Cusack and him and Brody, there are those moments.
There's also a fight where he's trying to stop various ethnic groups under his control fighting, and he's trying to fight them without fighting them, which is pretty good. So it's all pushes and shoves and blocks and no striking.
Yeah, and pushing people
and occasionally
apart.
he'll throw one to get him out of the way. But yeah. It's fighting without fighting, but not in the Steven Seagal sense.
Yeah, the martial art of getting out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like that ethos works through to the final fight sequences where Jackie's kind of like pinning down some of Brody's centurions, making it clear that he has won that interaction, and then letting
Yes.
them go, and then all
Rather than
of
killing them.
Cusack's soldiers start. Okay, we'll do that as well, and it sort of changes their mindset.
Yeah. I actually think it gets better as it goes on, this film. Like, I think the beginning, like the first 20 minutes or so, until Cusack shows up, I think it's quite ropey.
Yes.
And then it might just been the way it's been recut.
Yeah, but to be
release,
fair,
but I think it gets better as it goes on. I mean, I'm grading on a curve here, obviously.
you definitely are, because even when Cusack turns up, it's it's pretty ropey.
Cusack does have, my favourite line in this is from John Cusack, which is, "We need food and water for my men, medicine for a child, and I need a place to think."
Yeah, there's some really bad dialogue in this. Like really
When Jackie offers him, was it a traditional Chinese liquor?
Yeah.
And he's like, "It's strong," and he takes his big gulp and goes, "Yes, it's lovely."
Yeah, and I was just like, is this intentional humour? Is it just bad, or I don't know?
I couldn't tell.
No,
I
me
couldn't
either.
tell. There are parts where they forget how much English or Latin, I suppose, Jackie Chan's character is supposed to understand.
Yeah.
Because there's times when the conversations are really simplistic, and then Cusack's character will just go off on this long monologue, and Jackie will go, "Yes, I understand." And then later on, towards the end of the film, Chan gets his big monologue in English.
Yeah.
Which is way more complicated than his character has been speaking for the previous 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's mostly because that's an almost identical speech to the one that John Cusack gives him in the scene prior to that.
Maybe he just memorised it.
He's just remembering it and reading it off. Yeah.
I have one note here that just says eyeliner, architecture, dodgy facial hair, and 2 musical numbers back to back. That should tell you what kind of movie we're dealing with here.
My comment about the eyeliner was Jackie Sparrow, because
it wasn't even his I was talking about. It's Cusack's.
No, oh yeah,
It
Cusack's
looks
is bad. Jackie's is pretty full on in some scenes as well.
He was more the dodgy facial hair in that equation.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Can I pick out anything else? I wrote I like Moon's eye makeup. John Cusack's not so much. There's a bit where a guy gets shot through the back of the neck with an arrow at point blank range. Yeah. So the guy, so this character Moon is the female Hun that Tom was talking about earlier, and
I was hoping she'd get injured so that someone could just say, "You okay, Hun?"
Christ. I've lost my train of thought. In the longer cut, there's a bit. Okay, so this movie's all over the place. Jackie rides off to go and basically collect his wife and children and bring them into danger, I guess.
Yeah, yes. That
or has
seems
he got
really
word
weird.
that they're going to be attacked, and he just happens to arrive at the moment where they are attacked?
No, I don't know. As far as I remember, there's like all shit starting to break loose at the Wild Geese City or whatever it's called.
Yeah. That'll do.
Yeah, Wild Geese Gate or something, isn't it? It just made me think of the Roger Moore movie.
Yeah.
Which we may have covered in season 1.
Nope.
Did we not?
No.
Okay.
Put it on the list for season 3.
And he's just like, "Oh wait, I'm going to go. And I know. I've got a mate who's got an army. I'm off," and he just rides off.
Yeah.
And then he's suddenly at his wife or whatever she is, girlfriend's place with the school, and then all hell breaks loose.
It's his wife. She's a school teacher.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, hang on a minute. Was he just going to go and see his wife? And like, was he intending to go and? I just didn't understand that. So I
remind you that this is better than the Chinese cut.
Yeah.
But the Chinese cut may have more context for.
Yeah, exactly. One thing about that stuff.
Scene missing.
Yeah, was a lot of that fight sequence is bows and arrows, and
yes,
arrows for me, I think they're one of those things that they're difficult to make look good practically. And they generally look awful as CGI as well. Whereas these looked great. Like some of the stuff they were doing was really good. And I assume it was practical, like low speed and foam and that kind of stuff. But
quite possibly,
they still they look really good, those bits.
So Jackie turns up at his wife's school just in time to save her from attack, and so does Moon, this Hun woman. And Jackie's wife's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I'm Moon. I'm his wife."
Oh yeah.
And there's a whole lot that's been cut out where basically she's following him around, basically stating because he beat her in battle at the beginning of the film, that means they are now betrothed.
Yeah, I kind of got that because there's a really weird thing, like he beats her, takes her scarf, and then he rocks up, gives her the scarf back, and then she's naked.
Right. I've got a note about that as well that says, did the "I just want to give your veil back" scene actually happen, or is it in Jackie's head? If it's in his head, he has a very chaste head because she drops her robe right in front of him.
Yeah, no,
and
that
he's like,
does happen.
"Here's your scarf." Bye.
And then they're laughing at him.
But it's shot like a dream sequence. It's shot all floaty and ethereal.
Yeah.
Completely differently to the rest of the film.
Yeah. It's a weird.
But anyway, the arrow thing I was talking about, one of Moon's soldiers gets a guy from behind with his bow over the guy's neck with the wooden bit facing forward, and he pulls the string back, loads an arrow in it, and lets it go as a second guy runs into frame, and it goes through the first one into the second one, and that made me scream out loud. And there's another one. Oh God! All I wrote was there's a bow and arrow trick in the final battle that made me gasp out loud, and I can't remember what it was.
There is some.
Suffice to say, there's some good bow and arrow work in this film.
There is. Yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just trying to think. There's the bit with where they appear to make a tank out of all of the Roman shields at the end, which it just made me think of Last of the Summer Wine, like Compo going down a hill in a bathtub.
So there's a bit in the scene I like, where they're fighting off all of Tiberius's Romans. It's Jackie. So Centurion Cusack has died. He's been kidnapped, tortured, had his eyes pulled out. The barn he is tied up in, has been crucified in, is on fire.
Right. And
he basically begs Jackie to kill him.
Yeah.
Which Jackie does with a sizable crossbow. But before that, he has basically been made honorary centurion, and all of the Roman legionnaires are now under Jackie's command.
Yeah.
And so they're fighting them off with all the shields, and they're fighting down steps, and they see these big rocks, and Jackie yells, "Get the stones!" And in the back of that shot, there is one Roman soldier who runs over, grabs this stone that's supposed to be massive and heavy, and remembers a second after he lifts it that it's supposed to be heavy.
Amazing. I missed that.
Both Cusack and Brody somehow get scars with no preceding cut.
Right.
So they're both sliced on the face.
Yeah.
There is no blood. And then in the next scene, they have scars.
That must be cut out, right?
I don't know.
That
I mean, there's
editing.
enough blood and violence in this film already.
Yeah. I know, my wife Nick was kind of sort of pottering about doing other stuff while I was watching this, and every now and then she'd come in, and after a while, when Cusack was doing his big kind of death scene-y stuff, she just turned to me, she said, "Did Nick Cage turn this down?"
It's entirely possible. Oh God, couldn't you imagine that?
I almost kind of want to watch that more.
Yeah, I would watch it.
Yeah,
I'd watch it immediately.
Yeah.
And finally, I think the Hun have these trained eagles that you see in the first the opening battle. They go for the eyes of the horses, and then they go for the eyes of the soldiers. And then a whole load of them turn up in the final battle and start scratching at the eyes of Tiberius's Romans. And I wrote in all caps, Birdemic 3.
Do you know what one of my last notes is? Birdemic finale.
Yes.
Yeah, it is exactly that. And I was just like, oh man, this is going to look awful. It's not good. Not good at all.
So I firmly categorize this as enjoyable nonsense.
Yeah, I would categorize it as
I don't think I would choose. Go on.
I would categorize it as if you're a Jackie Chan fan, it's a curio to watch.
Might be the best. Yeah, might be the best word. Yeah,
it's it's worth a watch just to behold the spectacle of awful weirdness that it is. Like, it's not like
of modern Jackie Chan, I will tell you that it's better than Chinese Zodiac.
Yeah.
Although Chinese Zodiac has a better fight scene in it. 1 hour, 16 minutes on Netflix. Just watch that bit and then switch it off. And it's better than Bleeding Steel, which is an absolute abomination.
Right.
It's probably I'm trying to work out if it's better than The Foreigner.
I haven't seen that. I don't know.
Okay, so The Foreigner is essentially
It's him and Pierce Brosnan, isn't it?
It's him and Pierce Brosnan, yeah, but it's a Game of Thrones plot played out in modern day Northern Ireland between these various Irish gangsters, while one of the greatest screen fighters of all time hangs around on the periphery trying to blow people up.
Right.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so like the Jackie Chan part did not need to be played by Jackie Chan.
Do you think that's one of those sort of movies where there's like a Chinese cut that is it's a Jackie Chan movie?
I don't know.
And they're just the periphery, and they've like essentially
it is, however, directed by Martin Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Director of 2 of the best Bond movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And the fighting in that, the Jackie Chan fighting in that is akin to the more serious side of his old stuff. So think of Crime Story and the harder edge stuff in Police Story.
Yeah.
But instead of doing 6 or 7 techniques in one shot, he's doing 2 or 3, and they cut it a bit faster to get around his, because he's like 60 when he made that.
Yeah.
And they cut around it to make it a bit faster. And it's, when he does cut loose, it's actually not bad.
Right.
But the story just like it just didn't work for me. It was a really odd mix of people and roles. I think.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I categorize this as enjoyable bollocks. I don't know if I will choose to watch it again, but I might one day be flicking through Amazon Prime and think, why the hell not? And just press play and do something else while it's in the background.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those movies that I'll be like, is this as bad as I remember? Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't a chore to watch.
No,
if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think we probably got the worst of the titles of this film. In most places, it was called War of Empires.
Oh, that makes sense. That's nice.
Czech Republic decided it was Fight for the Silk Road. Hungary went with The Eagle and the Dragon. And the literal Chinese title is Celestial General Heroic Army.
Wow.
Yeah. Shall we move on to
Butch
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid? I nearly said When Harry Met Sally for some reason, and I don't know why.
Same sort of movie, surely.
No.
So Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. It's another classic, 1969, script by William Goldman. George Roy Hill was the director. It's got Paul Newman and Robert Redford in the leading roles, and it's essentially about the last kind of days of the Hole in the Wall gang, Butch and Sundance fleeing to Bolivia, and just what is alleged to have happened to them, because nobody really knows. There's several theories, and it's kind of a romanticized version of the end of their careers / lives, assuming that the movie is correct, which I don't think it is. So I know you said last night it's a movie you've had on DVD for possibly not far off 20 years and never watched.
Yeah. And I'm a big William Goldman fan, but somehow I'd never got around to watching this.
This is a movie that I enjoy more and more the more I watch it. So yeah, what did you think about it?
I am quite annoyed.
Right.
I'm really annoyed that I didn't get around to watching this before now.
Yeah, I thought you might be.
With the exception of 2 scenes, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I thought you would. I can probably guess the scenes as well.
The scenes are Sundance going to see Etta for the first time.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Where he's just really creepy and hiding in the corner of her room in the dark and makes her strip at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Which is creepy as hell, even after you find out their relationship.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be some sort of role play.
It's some sort of silly game they play.
Yeah, but you're right.
But
It's a real like, oh, that's a bit.
Yeah, particularly as this man is supposed to be one of your heroes in this film.
Yeah.
Or anti-heroes, if you like.
Yeah.
I thought that could have been, like, today in particular, that does not hold up well.
No, it doesn't. No.
And the other scene I could have done without was the photo montage of off we go to New York and then Bolivia.
Yes. Do you know why?
Because that goes on forever. And why are 3 fugitives appearing in so many damn photos?
Do you know why? It's because...
Well, because the sets of Hello Dolly were next door and they broke in and took some pictures.
They were supposed to film on those sets for Hello Dolly, and they weren't allowed to. Like, there was stuff happened and they weren't allowed. They were supposed to do actual scenes, and they could bag a few photos, and that was it. And so that's why it's like a weird photo montage. See, I'd add to that the raindrops keep falling on my head sequence. I think. Yeah. It's not.
Although weirdly, I forgot about that.
It's not necessarily the scene. Like, I think the scene works okay. It kind of makes the relationships a bit more interesting, a bit more unusual. But it's the song. It's just so. My only complaint about this movie is the soundtrack, the score. Partly the score and then the songs. That. It's like I said to you last week, it's weird because it's a period movie, but it feels so much like a 60s movie, which is not the period that it's set in because of that. If you put on it like a Sergio Leone spaghetti western style soundtrack, it would be right up there for me, I think.
They should have taken a page out of the Westworld TV show book where they have modern songs played on a player piano.
Right, nice. Okay.
So there's like in season 1 of that, there's an excellent rendition of Black Hole Sun played on an old piano.
Nice.
And they do that throughout the series.
Yeah, I watched the first 1 or 2 episodes. I just couldn't get into it. I
First season's
love the
really
movie,
good, and then it kind of goes downhill. I've watched all of it now.
Right. Yeah, I loved the movie, but I couldn't get into the series. No, I thought you'd like it.
Oh, no, I'll tell you what I really didn't like about the raindrops keep falling on my head scene is once Butch starts doing stunts on the bike, it suddenly turns into wacky circus music.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's my point. It's the soundtrack
for me is far worse than raindrops.
That's true. Yeah. It's all a bit crazy. But, taking that aside, I love the cinematography in the opening sequences, the sepia bits where
I love the cinematography throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
so it's like it's wide and scope, and like when they're running through the hills, all the mountains look amazing. When they're in the towns, they look like these amazing old western towns.
Yeah,
the stuff on the trains is really good. It looks great. Like even now, it's 51 years old.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I know plenty of people. I'm 41 and I don't look as good as this film does at 51.
I was trying to work it out. Actually, we're not. We're getting close to the point where this film is further back in time from us now than it was from the time period it was depicting.
Yeah.
Because it's early 1900s.
Only another 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, not even that. It's less than 10, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it looks absolutely stunning. And you've got that just sizzlingly good script.
There are a couple of, in terms while we're on the cinematography, there are a couple of shots, not even scenes, shots that look like they were shot by the second unit on 16mm for some reason.
They might be punched in.
Don't quite fit.
They might be punched in on the print.
They might be, yeah.
Because I say that because the final shot, that iconic final shot.
Yes.
When they come out,
punch in, and then they do a massive. What today would be a digital zoom.
Exactly, yeah. And you're sitting there thinking, well, they can't have punched in that much, and it just keeps going and going and going. It almost goes from a close up to like an extreme establishing wide shot.
It's probably in the trivia that I haven't read how that was accomplished, or it's in one of the Goldman books where he raves about this movie for 25 chapters.
Yeah. I love the script. I just love the who are those guys? And the repetitive of that kind of stuff, and it's great.
One of the things I liked was Butch in particular is a very confident man who's aware of his own skill set, yet is still in awe of others. That's one of the reasons he's hanging around with Sundance, because he can't shoot the way Sundance can.
Exactly, yeah.
He's always amazed when somebody shows off a skill that he doesn't have.
Yeah, I like that, and I love the fact that what I think is brilliant about the way this film starts is that you have that sepia segment in the bar where someone accuses Sundance of cheating at poker, and Newman tries to talk the guy down, but it doesn't happen. So Sundance does a bit of gunplay and shows off, and the guy backs down, and it perfectly sets up their two characters of Butch, the talker, the diplomat, the guy that he's the con man almost, rather than an outlaw, and Sundance, who's just
they're the brains and the muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially.
Yeah. But then the next thing I love is when they get back to the hole in the wall gang, and the huge guy is like, I'm taking over now, and Butch just
that whole knife fight scene is fantastic.
It's amazing. It just again, it just sums up their characters so perfectly.
Yeah.
It's
There's a lot of good set piece scenes. All the bank robbery scenes are really good.
Yes. Yeah, the train
particularly
robbery
the first one they do in Bolivia, where Etta, who's a school teacher, has given them a basic Spanish lesson.
Yes.
And Butch has got it all down on a piece of paper and is basically running through his lines, like telling all these people to put their hands in the air when they've already got their hands up, telling them to get against the wall when they're already against the wall. Yeah. In the end, he just gives up and tells Sundance, "You tell them, you do it."
What I love about that is because all through the time where they're trying to learn the Spanish, Butch is just pretending that because
he's already claimed he knows some Spanish.
Yeah, so he's trying to make out that he's actually ahead of the game. Sundance is just not interested in it at all because he doesn't do the talking. And then when they get to it, Butch can't remember that. But Sundance, he obviously has taken it all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love all of that. I love the train explosions.
There is an explosion on the train that I was convinced had killed two stuntmen.
Yes.
That is unbelievable.
Isn't
how
it?
big that explosion is and how close those two men were to that car.
When I said last week there's some moments that will make you go, fucking hell, that was one of them.
I rewound that twice. God,
I've tried to go through it frame by frame. It's like, do they do a match cut to like dummies but they don't. Those guys react to it, and those splinters, Jesus
I think it's just
Christ.
pure luck that nobody lost an eye.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's incredible. Maybe they did. It's incredible.
Yeah.
This is one of those films where most of my notes are quotes.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Because like the dialogue is so good.
Yeah.
If he just paid me to stop robbing him what he's paying to stop me robbing him, I'd stop robbing him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy where they rob the same guy twice.
Yeah.
On the train, coming and going.
Yeah.
And the second time, like he's got a sling on and a bandage on his head. And he's determined. He's like, he's going to protect the cash at all points.
Yeah. And his stuff is great. And then there's the bit in the finale scene where they're working out who's going to make a run out and who's going to cover, and Sundance goes, I'll have to go, and Butch is like, this is no time for bravery, I'll let you.
Yes. Yeah. The delivery on that is fantastic as well.
Yeah. I mean, you have got two of the best written charismatic characters played by two of the most charismatic leading men that Hollywood has ever seen. It's such a winning formula.
It was originally supposed to be Steve McQueen in the Sundance role.
Okay, I can see that.
And it was then called The Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy, believe it or not.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. And Redford wasn't very well established at the time.
No.
Like, he was very much the lesser known of the two.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Yeah.
But, well, it made him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He named a film festival after it.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. I can see why they would have gone with Steve McQueen, but again, it would have been very different. There would have been so much antagonism between him and Butch just because that's how he and Newman were. I mean, did we do Towering Inferno on the first season? We did it. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a point in case. That's probably why.
We did.
Yeah. I'm sure we did.
There's a Bolivian bank manager who looks like Mel Brooks.
Yes.
And no, I don't really have an and. The end shootout is really good.
Yes, yeah.
So what it gives you that a lot of modern action sequences don't is a sense of geography and danger.
Yeah, very much.
And
so.
the hero's getting overwhelmed.
Yes, yeah. And I think what it does really, really well is it shows that one of Sundance's skills is his ability to listen and hear where the other people are. So like he will just spin around and shoot someone, and it's not because he knows they're there, it's because he's heard, and like he's taking all of that in. I really like that.
And there's a tiny detail in it that things only start to go to shit for them when he misses one shot.
Yeah.
And they don't make a big deal out of it. There's just one guy he needs 2 bullets to take down because the first one misses.
Yeah.
And then that's where it starts going wrong.
Yeah. The confidence goes.
Yeah. I mean, the writing's fantastic. Their chemistry is fantastic. The whole thing is really great. It feels longer than it is.
Yeah.
But the only 2 things, 3 things now you've mentioned, the only things I would get rid of are the scenes we've mentioned.
Yeah. I can.
And as you said, the raindrop scene does add to the characters and the relationship.
Yeah, it just needs different music.
Probably could have been executed better.
Yeah. I do think there's when they're being chased by LaForce and Lord Baltimore. It's that some of the dialogue is so mumbled. I'm just like, it does sound like they're being chased by Geordie LaForge and Lord Voldemort.
Well, I initially wrote down their real names when they give them.
Right. Yeah.
Robert Parker and Harry Longabaugh.
Yeah.
And I wrote down Terry Longbottom because I couldn't hear what Redford was saying.
I love
Neville.
Yeah, I love that they've been together for so long, and then that's the first time they find out each other's real names, and the first time they find out that Sundance can't swim, and the first time they find out that Butch has never actually shot anybody. Yeah, I love all of that stuff. It's just that beautiful sort of evolution of friendship, and it always comes out in an intense sort of moment, or like the cliff jump and all that kind of stuff. It's just
which starts in one state and ends in another.
Yeah.
Because the actors start the jump onto mattresses, and then it's stuntmen doing it back on a. I don't know if it's on a soundstage or if it was actually on location.
I think it must have been on
location.
But
the platform they were jumping off has got a matte painting over it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and you cannot tell.
No, I didn't even notice. Didn't even know.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's great. It's all around great. I want to find the screenplay and read it because I think that would make really an interesting study.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
It's a lesson in how to write this kind of, in how to write French, in how to write relationship.
Yeah, but I mean, not just that. It's like how to set up characters. I don't think you ever know something about any of the characters unless another character finds it out or they demonstrate something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or through their actions or behaviours. Which is how it should be, that's how life is.
Yeah, Sundance doesn't walk in and go, I'm the best gunfighter in the West.
Exactly, yeah. No, like I said, the more I watch it, the more I enjoy it and the more I love it. And,
Yeah, I will absolutely be watching this again. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought you'd like it.
Anything else to add?
No, not really. No.
Other than it's markedly less ridiculous than Dragon Blade.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Whether it's as true as Dragon Blade, that's up for debate.
Yeah. I mean, I read up some little bits. So, for example, the Etta, what is her? Is it Page? Etta Place.
Yeah.
Which sounds like somewhere in the middle of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Her character existed but didn't have that name.
Yeah.
And was originally supposed to be a prostitute. But then when Goldman saw Catherine Ross, who plays her, and having seen photos of prostitutes from the Old West, decided she was far too attractive and charismatic to be an Old West hooker. And so she was turned into a school teacher in the next draft.
That's fair. I think there's, people knew that they committed certain things and they went to Bolivia and that kind of stuff. So that's all kind of fairly. I think where it's obviously it's heavily implied that they die at the end.
If they get hit with as many bullets as you hear fired when they run out there, they would have the consistency of beef stew before they hit the ground.
Exactly. So it's implied that there's a lot of that they might have survived, or one of them might have survived and ends up in San Francisco until like the 30s. Like, because that's what I always find fascinating about this era is it's so much closer to.
It spills over into my grandparents were born in the 30s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, shall we move on to pitches?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Who's going first?
I don't mind. It's up to you.
All right, I will.
All right.
For the third week in a row, you are not getting what I was originally going to pitch you.
Excellent.
Because I was going to rewatch that film and decided to... I was going to watch some more movies the same day. And I watched something that I think is far better than the movie I was actually going to pitch you.
All right.
Knives Out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot about this.
We're bringing this bang up to date. It was only released in November and is currently on Prime Video in the UK. A modern yet also retro whodunit.
Yes.
So this is one of those films where the less I tell you about it, the better.
Yep. I'm aware of it. I know roughly some of the cast. I know who the director is. I know nothing about the plot, other than it's kind of got an Agatha Christie vibe.
It very much does have an Agatha Christie vibe. So it's directed by Rian Johnson, who has directed recent Star Wars films. He's also known for Brick and Brothers Bloom, which sat on the shelf for 3 years.
Yeah, I know. I remember doing a premiere for it at London Film Festival, and then it just never came out.
I shot that, and then 3 years later, I finally saw the film when it got a tiny release.
Yeah.
It's not that good.
No.
This is much better.
Okay.
So, when renowned and extremely wealthy crime novelist Harlan Thrombey is found dead the morning after his 85th birthday party, brilliant private detective Benoit Blanc is hired by an unknown party to investigate. On the surface, it appears to be suicide, but there sure are a lot of people with a motive.
Okay. It's very Agatha Christie.
Okay. Yes. And the cast are Harlan Thrombey is Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
Benoit Blanc is Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
The housekeeper, she's not the housekeeper, she is she's Harlan's private nurse, if you like. She's kind of hired to assist him.
Yeah.
Is Ana de Armas, who you won't have heard of, but on the basis of this and Daniel Craig absolutely loving her, is now in the new Bond movie.
Right.
And then the other major characters are all members of the Thrombey family. Okay. And they include Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson, Michael Shannon, Toni Collette, and Chris Evans.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great cast.
Yeah, yeah.
I've actually written no notes for this. Okay. I think it's probably for the best if I watch it again and take notes this time, because I didn't watch it with the intent of writing notes or even pitching it. I just watched it because I've wanted to see it since before it came out.
Okay.
Essentially, I loved it because it's a tight script packed with details and character details.
Yeah.
And Daniel Craig and his southern accent are fucking tremendous.
Okay. Right.
This might be... I've only really seen Daniel Craig in Bond films.
Okay.
So I've never seen Layer Cake.
Right.
I haven't seen Logan Lucky.
No.
I have seen him. I have seen him in something else.
Our Friends in the North.
I can't think what it is. What?
Our Friends in the North.
Nope.
TV series.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
This is definitely the most fun I've ever seen Daniel Craig have, because he always, in Bond films, he always looks like he's fulfilling a contractual obligation and he would rather not be there anymore. But they've just thrown another $25 million at him, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought he was brilliant in this.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I feel a bit like, it's like having to sit through watching, what's his face? Oh God, what's his name?
I don't know.
He's one of those. No, he's one of those. He's one of those actors that I find really, really boring, and he's so boring I can't remember what his name is. He's in Drive.
Wow.
He's in Drive, and
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, little fella, eyes too close together.
Yeah, it's like watching Ryan Gosling in Drive, where he's just really boring and not doing anything, and then watching Ryan Gosling in the movie he did with Russell Crowe, the Good Guys. You watched that?
Oh,
the Good Guys.
Nice Guys.
Nice Guys. Yeah.
The Nice Guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
I kind of want to watch that again. Actually, that was a lot of fun. I seem to recall.
Yeah, exactly.
The scene in the bathroom where one of them's trying. I can't remember which way around. One was trying to get to interrogate the other, and the door of the stall keeps closing between them.
Yeah, just like him having fun and coming alive in that. I feel like it's probably a bit of a similar thing to the Daniel Craig you're describing.
Yeah.
You know?
A sequel has already been greenlit.
Right. Okay.
And there are no details, and supposedly nobody else from this film will appear other than it's just Benoit Blanc on his next case.
Nice. Okay, making him into a Poirot, essentially.
Yeah. This was made for $40 million, which you don't make movies in that range these days.
They used to make a lot of comedies used to sit in that range.
Yeah. This is very much a comedy.
Yeah, so it's kind of going
fun.
back to that kind of model.
And so it made for 40 million with all those names in it, and worldwide, given that it was only released in November, made 310 million.
Wow.
So it did all right.
Yeah. Just goes to show you there are alternatives to superhero movies and indie horror films.
There are alternatives to superhero movies, even if this film has got James Bond and Captain America in it.
Fair enough.
I won't say anything else, and I don't know if I can say anything else until I've watched it again.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah,
that's fair. My pitch is
Knives Out.
Yeah, my pitch is going to be fairly similar. So after we did First Blood, and I remember saying at the time it's a movie that I may even have only watched once or twice, but it was not what I expected it to be. And you seem to enjoy that. I thought we'd go back and check out another early Sylvester Stallone movie and go for Rocky.
Driven.
No, Rocky.
Sorry, I trampled over you with a terrible joke.
Fine.
Say the title once again.
We're gonna watch Rocky.
Yay!
But
okay.
I didn't watch it before I pitched it because I think I'm pretty sure I've only seen this once, and I was just like, okay, this again. Plot wise, a bit more what I expected it to be, but I was very impressed with Stallone, and he also wrote it. This was kind of like, like we said with First Blood, back when he was on the arc of being in the De Niro Pacino camp as opposed to the Schwarzenegger Lundgren camp, which he ended up in. So I haven't watched this again before pitching it to you. I'll give you the basics. As you know, young up and coming boxer gets a chance at a heavyweight title. He trains for it. And he's overcoming personal struggle at the same. It's a typical underdog sports movie story. So I thought we'd take a look at that and see,
It's become the template for the underdog sports movie.
Yeah,
you could walk into any pitch meeting, and you might not get green lit, but if you say to someone it's a Rocky story, that's shorthand, and people immediately understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's again, it's a classic that I think you need to watch. Whether you'll like it or want to watch it more than once, I don't know. I'm not even sure if I'll enjoy watching it for a second time. So that would be interesting to see.
Well, I was the same with Dragon Blade.
Yeah. So I just think it's one of those movies that you have to at least see it once.
Well, a few years ago, Amazon had it must have been when Creed or Creed 2 was released.
Right.
Amazon had a Rocky 1-6 Blu-ray box set for £10.
That's crazy.
Exactly. So I bought it. And it's one of those ones where the first one is packed with extras, commentaries, behind the scenes stuff, retrospectives. It's probably got the script on there somewhere. The absolute works. The second one is slimmed down a bit. By the time you get to the sixth one, it's like animated menus in the trailer.
Yeah.
Much like Rambo, I'm aware the quality sort of drops off after this.
I've only seen the first one.
Okay. And
so
what was the other one where the quality drops off afterwards that we did the first one of recently?
Ooh.
Oh, no. The second one is Alien and Aliens, where the quality takes a massive dip.
Yeah, for Alien 3.
Yeah. I might watch up to 3 so I get to see Hulk Hogan getting his face beaten in.
Fair enough.
It's his birthday yesterday.
Oh, was it?
As we record this. Anyway, I'm getting off track.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. I'll watch Rocky, you watch Knives Out.
Yeah, okay. I think that's going to be a fun episode next week.
And if you have seen Rocky or Knives Out or anything else we've done in season 2, then you can send us your reviews at HYS Podcast on Twitter. That's also our Instagram handle. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/haveyouseenpodcast. The website is haveyouseen.net, and the email address is hyspodcast@gmail.com. And Tom's going to be very proud of me because I don't have my little bit of paper underneath the lens. And I've just done that from memory.
Wow. That's impressive.
And now Tom has something he'd like to tell you about.
Oh, yeah. So you can rent my feature-length debut documentary, The Easy Bit, on Amazon Prime, Prime Video, and Vimeo On Demand. It's about what it's like for men going through fertility treatment. And it's a documentary I spent 5 years making, sweating over, and it's finally available to watch. So go away, watch that.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, or should let these people have their time back?
Yeah, definitely, because it's crazy hot.
It's unbelievably hot.
Sweltering.
I am probably going to go to bed laying on ice packs.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
So that's it. Join us again next week when it's Fist versus Knives. Bye.
Bye.